A very good day to you. It's just so great to be with you in the wide open spaces. The most beautiful cathedral you've ever seen in your life. Look at the ceiling. It's full of rain. Look at the trees. It's summertime. The grass is green. We've got everything to rejoice for. Are you content with your lot in life? You might say, Angus, I'm not actually. Well, then I want you to listen to this message, because this message is specially for you. Okay, if you look at 1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse 6, Paul says, godliness with contentment is great gain. Great gain. You see, folks, you don't just become content. You can't get a preacher to come and lay his hands on you and say, be thou content. Doesn't work like that. Contentment needs to be cultivated. It's not a natural thing in you and me. You see, folks, I'm a farmer. When you plow land and you leave it, a field, and you leave it, automatically the thistles and the briars and the weeds grow on their own. They don't have to be cultivated. I don't have to plant them because they come from the earth. Contentment is like a beautiful rose, like a beautiful carnation, like a beautiful protea. It needs to be cultivated. You've got to look after it. You've got to grow it. It takes time. No such thing as finding instant contentment. You can find instant coffee. You can find instant food. You can find instant everything, but not contentment. Contentment takes time. You've got to learn. You've got to understand. You've got to be prepared to be content. Now, Paul knew about that. And he says here in Philippians chapter 4, verse 11, listen to this. Not that I speak in regard to need, for I have learned in whatever state I am to be content. So Paul said, if I have lots or if I have nothing, I've learned to be content. And as one writer said, when he was an old man and he had gray hair just like mine, and he was in a dungeon in Nero's capital of Rome, in Italy, and he was about to get his head cut off, he said, I've learned to be content. Contentment takes time. Contentment needs to be cultivated. Contentment doesn't just come like that, folks. And that's why you'll often find an old person. I think of my old intercessor, who's since gone to be with the Lord Jesus Christ many years ago. Her name was Peggy O'Neill. One of the virtues I saw in that old lady, that old saint, was contentment. You know that she'd had her one leg removed just underneath the knee because she had sugar diabetes. She suffered from cancer. She had heart problems and many other physical ailments. But I never heard her complain once. She had learned to be content. And she was probably one of the biggest inspirations in my entire life. I used to go and sit with her. She lived in the little house just across the road. I'd go and have a cup of tea with her and she'd smile and she'd say, Angus, I can't go with you anymore, but I've been praying for you. And I've said, Auntie Peggy, I felt it when I was on that platform in Zimbabwe, or on that platform on the eastern coast of Australia, or in the United States of America. I felt your prayers. And a big smile would come on her face. And she would say, tell me about the services. Tell me about the people that got saved and got healed and set free. And I'd sit there and tell her. And that contentment just came upon her. She was totally at peace. I officiated at her funeral. One of the finest, most victorious funerals I've ever officiated at. You know why? Because she wrote out the message for me. I never had the courage to preach a sermon like that. But the response and the people that got born again in that funeral, I'll never forget as long as I live. Remember, godliness with contentment is great gain. Goodbye.
For more information, please visit angusbuchan.com.